Hello friends, welcome back to the video series in Oracle PL SQL programming. In this video, we would discuss on the foreign key. Foreign key is basically used for the referential integrity. Means foreign key is used to refer some column to another column in the same table or in the different table. The referring column should have the same values as it is referring to the another column or the main column. Let us take an example of two tables. The first one is known as the department and the second one table is as the employee table. Now the department table has two columns. The first one column suppose known as the department ID and the second one column suppose as the name of the department, and the employee table also consists two columns. Suppose the first one is the EMP ID or the ID of the employee and the second one is the department ID. Now in the department table, the department ID is the primary key and the department, that table consists of suppose three records: 01 for the department ID, then the department name is the MCA, 02 is the second department ID and its name of the department is BCA, and the third department ID suppose 03, name of the department is suppose BBA. Same as in the employee table, the employee ID suppose first one is the EMP01 and he or she jobs in the department 01. Second one employee EMP02 job in the 01 department and the EMP03 is in the 03 suppose. So in the employee table, the employee ID refers to the department column 01, 01 and 03. Any EMP ID or the employee ID can be connected with the department 01, 02, 03 but never with the 04. Why? As 04 is never present in the department ID of the department table, as we have created the department ID as the foreign key. In the employee table, we have connected the department ID, that particular column, as the foreign key with the primary key of department ID in the department table. So in the department table, department ID presents are 01, 02 and 03. So in the employee table, any employee can be connected with the department, that may be 01, that may be 02 or that may be 03, but cannot be connected with the 04 because 04, that particular department ID, is not present in the department table. So remembering this consideration, we can declare the department column in employee table as the foreign key, which is referring to the primary key ID to the department table. So it has to be remembered always that the foreign key must contain those values which are only present in the primary key or the column to which it is referring. Let's check all these concepts practically with the SQL Plus, and for that we have to connect to the SQL Plus. At first, connect to the database. System is the username and the password is the password, as you know. At first, clear the screen. In here, previously we have a table named as the employee. Let's check its structure at first. And for that, we need DESC, then the employee. Now, here we have a column that is known as a department ID or DPT ID. Now, we have to create another table, suppose named as the department, to demonstrate the foreign key. And for that, create table, suppose name of the table as department, then left parenthesis, and the name of the column as department ID, then the data type suppose as number, then the keyword constraint, because we want to make this department ID column as the primary key for the department table. Then the name of the constant, suppose that is department ID underscore as PK. Then the keywords, that is primary key, comma, and another column, suppose department name or DPT name, and with the data type, suppose that is varchar 2, with the size suppose 20, and end of right parenthesis and the semicolon, and the table has been created. Now once again we want to check the structure of the department table here, that is department. So we have the department ID, that particular column is not null, basically it is primary key. And we want to make this department ID column from the employee table as the foreign key to the referring to the primary key department ID column of the department table. And to do this, we have to write the statement here. And before we write the statement, at first clear the screen, it would be better, and write down the alter, then the table, then which table? Now that one is employee, then add constraint. Which constraint? Na foreign key, and name of the constraint here, suppose emp underscore, that is for dpt id column underscore the foreign key for fk, then the keywords foreign key, and in parenthesis we have to write down the name of the column, and that one is department ID or DPT ID. Then we have to give the references, that means with which column we are trying to connect with. So references with the department, that particular table, and with its column, that is department ID. Now if we give the semicolon here, there would be no problem. Practically, at first, the name of the primary key and foreign key of different tables may have same name or not. Here we have the column name of employee table and the column of the department table have the same name. But if the names are different, that would also work fine. Second one, if we write down the semicolon here, and if we execute this statement, the relationship would be established and there would be a problem. If we don't specify anything after the relationship establishment, Oracle would not provide you with the option to delete any department ID record from the department table. That means if we give the semicolon here and press enter, the relationship would be established. But we cannot delete any record from the department table. There would be the problem. So for that, we can use some other options here. The first one options we can write on delete cascade. Suppose we have a department ID 20 in the department table, and in the employee table we have some employees working under department ID 20. If we delete the department ID 20 from the department table, the related records of the employee table with the department ID 20 would also be deleted. And for that we can use the on delete cascade. But that delete option is not a very good choice, and for that we can use on delete set null. If we type on delete set null, what happens if we delete the department ID 20 from the department table? Here the employees working under the department ID 20 in employee table would not be deleted. Instead of deletion, only the department ID for those employees would be null. So deletion of all records is not a good option. That's why we should not use the on delete cascade. Instead of on delete cascade, we should write or type the set null and semicolon and press enter. So the table has been altered. So this is how we can use the foreign key constraint. In the next video, we should check how we can manage the constraints, that is how we can check which constraint is assigned with which particular column, and also how we can edit them.